It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask kindergarten teacher Miss Gibson.
Give me just one Clorox wipe and I'm ready for glitter glue, exploded lunchbox yogurt, peanut butter handprints, runny noses, picking noses, rubbing noses.
Touching noses.
Thank you, Edward. Ooh, nap mats and lockers and tissue boxes. And
Clorox
scissors.
disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe. Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
I was scared to leave the house because it reached a point where I know that there is somebody out there that is completely obsessed with me and using my image.
How do you stay safe when you put yourself out there online?
Nobody came to the rescue. There's no end game. The catfish is still running.
Who do you turn to for help?
And what happens when you become unwittingly involved in scamming others?
That's what we're talking about today on What the Hack, the true cybercrime podcast. I'm Adam Levin.
I'm Beau Friedlander.
And I'm Travis Taylor.
Presley Rhodes, welcome to What the Hack. Where are you coming to us from today?
I'm in West LA. I am in Venice.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a military brat. Born in San Diego, raised in South Texas until 5th grade. And then 5th grade, I moved to the Bay Area of California, went to Butte College, which is in Chico. And then I went to school, Santa Barbara Central Coast for about a year and a half, got my associate's degree. And then I got accepted to ASU, went to ASU for a year and a half. And that's when my modeling career kind of started. I worked at a restaurant called Tilted Kilt. It's English, Irish, Scottish themed, kind of like Hooters, but not. And I made it into their calendar. And shortly after that, I moved to LA. And here I am.
I know from social media that you're an artist.
Yeah, so I'm an artist. It's mostly acrylic on canvas, but it just kind of started as a therapeutic hobby. And essentially I got into a relationship and a boyfriend opened up one of my closets and all of my art was in there. He was like, "What is this? Why are you hiding this?" And I guess as I painted more, I developed a skill. And so it's something I've just been leaning into now.
What's the primary way you showcase your paintings? Is it social media?
Well, that kind of ties into my whole situation. Is you would think that that would be the move, but because I have this fear of somebody stalking me, and I believe it was 2018, I started to try to sell my art, and I believe that I sold a piece of art to my stalker, and it kind of prevented me from wanting to give out my art to anybody else.
Because of online harassment or something?
Yeah, it's this fear that, because essentially I said, I'm ready to sell my art. I need to monetize what I'm good at and what I love. People are perceiving my art in a positive way. They want it in their homes. So I decided to sell 2 of my favorite pieces of art for, I think I charged like $300 for 2 very large pieces. And I believe that I sent it to my stalker because as soon as it was sent, I never got a confirmation. The page that I was communicating to via Instagram disappeared. I never got confirmation that they received it, no picture of it in their house. And it was heartbreaking for me. And also kind of scary because, they're able to track me in a way.
So Presley, you had an impersonator online, but it sounds like they were also stalking you. When did you find out about this?
Yeah, so it was 2019 and a random person reached out to me on Instagram and said, "Hey, I think this person is using your images pretending to be you." And at the time, I thought it was kind of funny because it was 2019. This page had started in 2018 and the catalog of content that they were using, you could tell that they had been taking everything I had ever posted on my Instagram story, on my wall. And I remember seeing it and thinking, wow, this is ridiculous. Like, who has the time and energy to pretend to be me? This is so silly. They're going to get caught at the end. And that just wasn't the case.
When this was going on, how often had you been posting? Was there like a lot of content for someone else to be kind of scraping, or was it just a smattering of posts? Or
So at the time, influencer marketing was blowing up, and I was posting every day from what I was doing, how I was feeling. I was crying, I was laughing. That's how I grew my audience, was just being incredibly vulnerable and just me.
So that actually is an important point here, right? You were starting to monetize, in a sense, your vulnerability. Is that correct?
Yep. And more than just my vulnerability too.
I mean, that's what an influencer does. I looked at your Instagram account and there was a video of you on the beach shooting over your back. And it, for all the world, looked like the focus was your bottom, but there was an ocean behind you. And you said, "Do you see those? Do you see those?" And I was like, yeah. But you were talking about boats, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's the subtle art of a thirst trap, and you got to utilize your assets, and it's kind of something I've always been naturally good at. And I know that I have way more to offer than my outward appearance. My whole goal was I was trying to grow my platform and grow my brand and obviously monetize the following that I had already kind of accumulated. Once you get enough followers, brands see your numbers and then they want to work with you because they're not only getting you that they're able to shoot and use on their content page, but they're able to access your audience as well.
Well, you were sharing pictures of yourself like most people do on social media.
Yeah. It's a fine line to walk because I'm running it like a business, but the reason my business does so well is because I'm vulnerable and I'm me. But I am very good about, when we're having a chat and a guy goes, "Oh, can I take you out?" Or "I can't wait to do this to you in real life one day." That's when I'm able to say, "Whoa, buddy, this is a fun fantasy land. This is a safe space where we're able to play out these fantasies. This isn't what we're ever actually going to do."
And just for our older listeners, what is a thirst trap?
Are you one of our older listeners, Travis?
Yeah, I've heard the term before. I have no idea what it means.
So a thirst trap is essentially a picture or a video or some sort of content that is, forward, a little bit sexy, but it's meant to kind of draw you in and make you want more.
So was Instagram your job? Were you making enough money this way to survive?
I mean, I was working full-time as a server, so this was my side hustle. That was the dream. It was, how can I monetize my following so that I don't have to show up and wait tables anymore? So I was totally burnt out and expressing myself online, and the pandemic hit and went on unemployment. And that's when the rest of it started.
So Presley, at some point you ended up moving over to OnlyFans. Why did you make the switch?
During COVID is when OnlyFans pretty much blew up. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody's wanting to do it, but it had such a negative stigma around it.
Yeah.
And I'd been shooting sexy, beautiful, a lot of nude content for years that I wasn't able to even share on Instagram. And it's truly like an art form for me. And so I got to a point where everybody was like, "You got to do it. You got to do it." The stigma kind of slowly started to change. And I was able to launch it in my new way, while knowing that there was somebody watching my every move, taking everything I posted online, and the fear that, they're going to probably use my OnlyFans content.
Okay, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Before we get into what may have happened here, let's talk about OnlyFans, since it may not be familiar to everybody listening.
I don't know if you've been on my OnlyFans, but on my wall, everything that is public and free is all basically Instagram safe, but I put it in black and white because in my head, I knew that would be accessible to more people and it would be easier for men or people to see that it was a red flag.
Okay, I did look, just for work. I got permission from my wife.
That's sweet.
That is adorable. Your OnlyFans is, in the realm of quote unquote sex work is sex work light.
Yeah.
So I was new to OnlyFans when we started working on this episode, and I logged on and I was struck by the fact that pretty much everywhere you click requires a payment of some kind.
Yeah, the paywalls.
I imagine you can make a decent living with an OnlyFans account. Is that the case?
That has been the case, yes. It was either go back to serving or lean into OnlyFans full time, and that's what I've done. I've been able to do it, yeah.
Which one pays better?
OnlyFans, 1,000%. I wasn't actually making enough money to live on Instagram. That was the goal of growing. But yeah, OnlyFans is doing it for me.
Presley, does sex work or even sex work light, as we talk about it, does that open you up to outside dangers?
Yeah, it seems like a creeper's paradise.
Yeah.
Has that been the case, Presley?
I mean, for the last, I'd say all of 2023, I was scared to leave the house because it reached a point where I know that there is somebody out there that is completely obsessed with me and using my image. I found multiple fake accounts of people pretending to be me. I even found one where they were using my actual name. And I scrolled, and they had posted a picture from my OnlyFans wall, a sexy black and white picture. I was scared and I limited my life in so many ways because I knew that this was happening and I wasn't able to get relief.
Presley, someone finally reached out to you. How did they find you?
He found me on Instagram and he said, hey, I found this page that looks like they're using your images and pretending to be you. They had me tricked for either a number of days or a number of months. And I just wanted to let you know. And a lot of these victims either found me because they reverse Google searched me because they got smart. Some of them claim that I popped up on their Explore feed. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that guys have found me over the years.
Give us an example.
In December of 2022, a victim came forward and he's an older gentleman and he was catfished by an account pretending to be me. And this person created a whole life with him. They were planning on moving into a house together and starting a family. And she sent him contracts about renovating their house and for him to review with my name, Presley Rhodes, in it. When these victims find me, I just feel so bad for how in love they think that they are with me, starting a life with me. But I said, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I have not been able to do anything. If you're able to get a phone number, get a Venmo, tell her you want to send her some money. And I was thinking maybe he would just, Venmo her $50, $100, maybe $1,000. 2 days later, he came back to me and he negotiated sending her $60,000. And she provided him with bank wire information with a name. Her name was Lori Eberwine, and it was a Bank of America with the swap code and everything. She said, this is my manager's account. Send the $60,000 here. The second I got that message, I went to LAPD. I filed a police report, and they essentially said, well, there isn't much we could do. And they said, well, if you take this police report to Bank of America, they'll be able to do something. So that's just what I did. I went to Bank of America, showed them the police paper, and they said, well, we actually can't even do anything. We can't freeze the account. We can't flag the account unless we have a subpoena from an attorney.
Now, the problem here is chicken and egg sort of problem. The police and the bank are not going to pursue anything, and they certainly aren't going to disclose anything without a crime actually occurring. And so the money wasn't sent, no crime, no foul, no information. So you don't get to know who's who in this situation unless you get tricky. I'm curious, did you get tricky?
I'm not a young guy by any stretch of the imagination. My first job was working in a VHS video rental store.
That's Jerome talking. He reached out to Presley after being targeted by the woman we're calling Emily Thaw.
But I was on Tinder and matched with somebody named Emily Thaw, and they sent me a message like right off the bat and was just like, hey, you're really cute. You have a dad bod, which, oh my God, I'm so into. And they're normally not that aggressive. And this person was very, very aggressive and was like, oh, what's your Snap? And I'm like, and that was like right away. It was like, what's your Snapchat? I gave it to her. I'm like, all right, let's look into the, and then she starts sending me all different kinds of pictures and stuff like that and starts asking for ones in return. And I'm like, this is so freaking weird.
Now, the images that she sent you, were they nude or not nude?
Started off as not, and then started to get nude.
They would use all of my Instagram story safe stuff.
She's like, send me a picture of yourself. I'm like, okay. So I'm standing in a doorway like this, right? I send her a picture. And she sends me back one, and it says like in the caps with like her arm up. And she's like, oh, here, arm up for arm up. That kind of pulls you into a little bit of the realism. You're like, oh, wow. So, in retrospect, like this girl literally has probably every picture that Presley's ever taken. It sounds like, she had such a list to pick from. But yeah, started with just like stuff in her underwear, and then just starts like blasting nudes at me and then asking for stuff in return.
Presley, it sounds like deepfakes or maybe deepfakes light are being deployed.
In the sexting, they would provide porn, essentially videos of females masturbating and nude pictures. And at the time, I did not have an OnlyFans yet. So a few of the guys were able to send me or show me what they received. And it clearly was not me. It was just another white girl with no face.
And that's when I stopped texting her. I'm like, this is obviously is not accurate. This is not a real person. Next day, I don't hear from her. And I'm like, all right, that's obviously a fake person. So I go through and I block, I report the profile to Tinder and block it on Snapchat and all that stuff. And I'm going to say probably that, that's it for maybe a month, I want to say. But then all of a sudden she popped up on Instagram and she sends me an Instagram message. And it's like, hey, it's been a while. How you been? Like nothing ever happened. And I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? And at this point I'm totally suspicious. And I'm wondering like, okay, what is this? Is this AI? So she starts sending me more pictures on Instagram, right? And now I'm zooming in on every single thing. And I'm looking at the edges. I'm looking at the stuff in the background. I'm staring at these pictures because I'm just thinking it's like AI. Like this is just some fake person with fake pictures. So I'm really, really, really staring like at the details of these pictures. And, she starts aggressively asking for dick pics. And I'm like, no, man. Like at this point, I'm like, is this a dude? Like, what is this? And so using the pictures that were on this fake Instagram, I screenshot them and I go to do a reverse Google image search. I get a hit that takes me to Presley's Instagram. And so I hit her up and I'm just like, hey, just want to let you know somebody's out there using your pictures and, catfishing people and stuff like that. I thought it was just going to be like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, thank you for letting me know.
She didn't know that he had found me, and I let him know that it was a fake account. And I said, try and get any information, get a phone number or a Venmo account. Maybe Venmo will be able to do something.
And she's like, we could probably use this. And I was like, all right, what do you think? What are you thinking? And she goes, well, what would really help is just try to get as much information as possible. So I would start like reaching out on Instagram to this fake Emily Thaw page. Like, hey, beautiful, how's your day going? You know what I mean? Like really trying to push it and make this person engage. And we were getting hit, like little hits here and there, nothing big, just small talk back and forth and stuff like that. I think she might have sent me one or two pictures and I would describe what they were to Presley. And she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, those are my pictures from OnlyFans.
And so he's talking to her. She's sending him videos that I had on my Instagram story 4 years prior, saying that she was in Vegas. And so I said, tell her you want to send her a drink. And he tried. And at first she denied. She was saying, no, that's okay. That's okay. And so he really pushed for it.
And she kind of resisted at first and was like, oh, I don't know. I was like, no, seriously. And I said something like, let me spoil you or some shit like that. And she goes, all right, fine. Send me your Venmo.
And she sent Venmo information. And I sent him $25. And then, because I didn't want him to think I was scamming him. And then he sent her $25 for a drink.
So we did that. And I have the whole, I got all the screen grabs and got that over to her. So she has that now. And
so now I have her Venmo information, but I haven't been able to get the Venmo taken down.
So what's going on here?
Well, it sounds like a few things, but I'm still curious about the impersonator.
Same. What's your theory, Presley?
I truly believe that this is somebody who found me on social media and kind of took on my identity as a video game. So then they're taking everything, talking to men, loving the way that men respond to me. It's been 5 years. This is somebody who has submerged themselves in pretending to be me, speaking like me, talking about the struggles of being a model and an artist and trying to get by and wanting to find a good man and all things that, I internally have thought to myself as well. And so it's mentally hearing this and seeing this, it just really put me into a hell.
Criminals can run many different kinds of scams using that content. There are boiler rooms dedicated to just that. But Presley, you don't think that it's a them. It's not a plural. You think it's one person. Who do you think it is?
So, about exactly a year ago, I had a victim come forward and say, "Hey, do you know this person named Tracy Sperling?" And I said, "No, why?" And he said, "Well, on her Facebook, I'm friends with her. I went to high school with her. She's posting nothing but pictures of you, and I think it's a little odd." And so he sent me screenshots, and on her private Facebook page, she was uploading pictures with captions pretending to be me. And so then my logic goes to, okay, this person is my impersonator, and in making yet another fake account, they have accidentally connected her personal Facebook to this new Instagram page and didn't realize that it was uploading. And so as soon as this happened, I was able to find a lawyer and send her a cease and desist letter. And the reason I felt confident in doing this is because when I researched this Tracy Sperling, she meets all the teeth for somebody that would be so obsessed with me, using my image, pretending to be me, loving that attention. So when you Google her name, she has an extensive track record online of trying to be a model and an artist. And she also has blogs kind of talking about her delusions of what if what you post online becomes your own reality. Some people live double lives and that's okay. And then on top of that, she has videos on her Facebook and her YouTube of her and her friends acting out murder scenes with her friends, and including pictures of her covered in blood. And that's really, my mental health had been pretty poor. But once I connected the dot that this is probably most likely her, I completely lost it.
It was a strong, this person's unwell kind of vibe. Do you decide to just get offline entirely? Did you consider just completely disappearing from online?
That was a very possible thing that I sat down and said, to be online and putting myself vulnerable, maybe I should just quit. Maybe I should not do this. Maybe I should lean into something in the real world and not exist online. But at this point, this person has such a catalog of enough content to where I don't need to create new content for them to do what they're doing. So if I disappear from online, then they're just going to take over and they're not going to be able to find me to know that this is fake. Because a lot of the guys realized it was fake and then found me. Some of them questioned it and found me. And then I would tell them, hey, these pages are fake. And they still had a hard time connecting the dots that they were being catfished. So getting offline is not an option for me.
The other part of it is, it's a legitimate way to make a living, and in your case, a rather good living. And therefore, why should one person be allowed to destroy that for you?
I have reached out to Tracy Sperling, the person who Presley thinks is her impersonator, through LinkedIn and also through 2 different accounts on Instagram. And she did get back to me in the comments on an Instagram ask, but then she disappeared and she's gone silent. So I don't think she wants to talk to us, sadly.
I found that Meta really didn't care. They didn't take any urgency to take care of the problem.
Facebook and Instagram are legendarily bad at helping people when things happen.
Yes. And if I was able to get a page taken down, another one would just pop up. I'd say every couple of months, I have at least 1 or 2 guys reach out to me saying, hey, this page is pretending to be you, or hey, you, good to see you. How have you been? Emily or Kendall, whatever name they use.
You got no help from the platforms. You got no help from the bank, no help from the police. What's next?
By luck, Jerome reached out to me and he said, the whole spiel. Time again, same conversation. And he said he had connected with a woman on Tinder named Emily Thaw. So I Googled her name. She looks legit. It looks like she owns this company. She has, a LinkedIn account.
Yeah, even a quick Google search makes it look like this Emily Thaw person is all over TikTok using your likeness.
Yep, I still have not been able to get those TikToks removed. And there's currently an Emily Thaw Instagram that is still up. And I utilized my verified Instagram chat and I was talking to somebody and they are unable to take it down unless I can prove that this person is being malicious.
Yeah, 13 out of the first 15 search results here are you.
Typically, victims find me. They might be looking for help. They might see something I've said on a news segment. But this one was different.
That's Teresa Payton. She's the former chief information officer for the White House under George W. Bush. She's currently CEO of a company called Fordless Solutions, which is a cybersecurity company.
Presley, having been the victim of ongoing impersonation for over 5 years, she's searching online and putting in different combinations of the impersonator's stage name, if you will, that they were using, and different combinations of words. And all of a sudden, my first edition of Manipulated, a book I have on deepfake identities and impersonation, how deepfake technology is enabling that, popped up, and she read it and she thought, oh my gosh, maybe this woman will believe my story and maybe she can help me. Because the reason why she found me there was we actually around the same time had somebody impersonate being an employee of Fordless online using the same name, Emily Thaw, with the same exact, just sort of unique tweak to the spelling of the first and last name.
Yeah, so while I'm Googling Emily Thaw, I find a link to an excerpt from a book from Teresa Payton, a book called Manipulated, where she referenced Emily Thaw, essentially targeting her cybersecurity company. And at this point, my brain is like, I'm making all this up. Maybe I'm the crazy one. So I reached out to Teresa. I sent her a message on LinkedIn and I said, I'm desperate. I've reached out to everybody. Nobody can help. I can see that you referenced this impersonator who's using my image in your book. Can you help me? And can we change what's going on? Because at the end of the day, it's not just me experiencing this.
We talked to Teresa in a previous episode. So what happened when you reached out to her?
So she replied immediately and said, I'm so sorry for what you're going through. Let's hop on a call.
And I said, I absolutely do believe you. And so we talked about how hard this is for victims to get help. Oftentimes victims are blamed for having an online footprint. So somebody says, well, stop posting pictures, stop posting videos. And that doesn't work for her in the line of work that she's in and how she chooses to live her life.
I was finally heard. I feel like the luckiest person in the world to be connected to her, because everybody that I have reached out to that hasn't been able to help me, out of everybody and anybody I could dream of other than an attorney that I would have to spend my whole life to pay off, this woman I was connected to, and she's so well connected and versed in this world. So if anybody can help me, it's Teresa.
And how was she able to help?
Being heard was step one. Step two is sharing the story on kind of a bigger scale. So she was able to have the story aired on a network in Charlotte.
This morning, a WBTV investigation is digging deeper into what happens when someone goes online and pretends to be you.
That's what happened to one woman who's sharing her experience.
And since that story came out, a victim Googled the name Emily Thaw because he was thinking of her one day and found me. And he didn't know that that was a catfish account until he saw that story. Step three has been reaching out to kind of my local government. I've emailed them, found them on social media, asked for help, sent them snail mail, heard nothing back from any of them. And so once that kind of failed, I was talking to Teresa and I said, through me sharing the story, I've been connecting with so many other influencers and people online who are dealing with this, all in different degrees. But it's really affecting our lives. I've been able to bond with people who our lives are kind of, I don't want to say ruined, but incredibly tainted in a way. And I said, these stories need to be heard because if they're heard, then things need to be changed because this is a universal thing.
Somebody should not be allowed to masquerade as you on a social media platform, period and stop. And when you report it and say they're doing that, she sends me. So I've been telling her, keep documentation. And they tell her time and time again, this is not, thank you for reporting this. This is not in violation.
This is the biggest point here is these are all monolithic companies that are looking at profits that we can't even imagine. And they happen on a scale where we don't even matter.
Here's where I think we can get them. All of these platforms now process payments. They take payments. They let you do consumer to consumer, business to consumer, consumer to business payments. You are now acting like a financial institution.
Well, I know that Presley thinks it's just one person, but I know you don't believe it. You think it's more than one person. Why?
I think it's really likely, given the number of stories that she told me, and also just given the amount of material she has out there and her profile, that I don't think this is just one person. I think this is a lot of different scammers using her images to do a lot of different crimes. So I reached out to an FBI agent, a retired FBI agent. She sent me on to a fellow who works for the Secret Service. I can't name him, but the man I reached out to is a criminal investigator for the U.S. Secret Service, specializing in financial and cybercrime. And he and I are on the same page.
Sextortion is mainly being committed by individuals. Unlike with BEC fraud and romance scams, that is mainly committed by groups, but the individuals who's doing sextortion is not necessarily part of these groups. They might be members, but they don't operate in unison to commit these sextortion crimes.
One of the things that I have been hearing, especially in the interview with Jerome and the other older gentleman that she was talking about, is we're looking at sextortion scams. And if we're talking about sextortion scams, we're not talking about one player.
From the multiple arrests and cases I've been involved, I do see that login credentials are being used across multiple different platforms to either do open source intelligence, to obtain material, for example, through OnlyFans, or from other platforms, or to start communicating and building a rapport with the potential victim. And it's quite interesting that the dialogue is usually exactly the same. It's almost a copy-paste exercise. You will also find with these bad actors that they actually exchange these dialogues.
That certainly gels with our theory that a lot of criminals operate online using lots of different, nearly identical accounts.
And we know from our episode with John DeMay that some of these sextortion operations are operating out of the continent of Africa.
You know, Adam, I noticed you said the continent of Africa, and I guess that's something we learned this episode, that they're not all working from, Nigeria or Ghana or other countries that we might name.
Well, I think the reason why they moved to South Africa is because of the infrastructure. Internet speeds are fast. It is easy to obtain technology that's actually needed to commit these extortion crimes. It's not very difficult to actually obtain a visitor's visa for South Africa and just overstay. And I would say recent developments in deepfaking, one doesn't necessarily need specific material out in the public to be used for sextortion. But yes, I do see actors obtaining OnlyFans material and using that to extort their victims. And ultimately, these bad actors are using basic open source intelligence techniques, much the same as what we as investigators do on a daily basis, to link that person to their personal, for example, Facebook or Instagram profiles, and then using that platform to directly contact the potential victim to, of course, extort them.
So, Adam, this sounds like, once again, you're right in only posting one picture of the interior of your car where there happens to be a water bottle.
That's the only way to live, is invisibly.
And Travis, you too. You recently just started posting on Instagram, and I feel like I've been a bad influence on you. And so here's the deal. We come back to the same thing. Open source is still a real source of problems for anybody who happens to fall into the sights of a criminal. And the more out there you are, the more your material might get used. But it doesn't mean that you should stay home and hide. I don't think it does. I think it just means that you have to deal with. This is the same way as like tick season is about to start in Connecticut. And like you walk outside, you might get Lyme disease, but I'm not going to stay inside all summer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think just one of the things is if your livelihood is dependent on a social media platform, then that social media platform does have a responsibility to actually help you maintain your identity on it.
But Adam, this makes me think of your friend and favorite lawmaker, Elizabeth Warren's bid to create the digital or cyber equivalent of the CFPB, because this is a case study, and it may not be, the Brady Bunch version of the case study because it involves, sex work light and nobody wants to talk about it. But the fact of the matter is, this is exactly where the government needs to either protect or outlaw. Protect or outlaw. If you're going to make it legal, protect them. And if there's any kind of gray area in there, figure it out. It's black and white.
I totally agree with you. Of course, the issue right now with the government is you have a Congress that can't agree on the day of the week. So the prospect of actually having some legislative action on this in the next few years is somewhat remote because there's such division in Washington. This is an area where there has to be protections. And we just have to take a harder look at what's going on the social media platforms and ways to protect all kinds of people against what's happening on these platforms.
And that is where I think Senator Warren and like-minded people in Congress might be able to affect change. And that's where I think Teresa Payton was right. Get in touch with your lawmaker. Because even if they don't get back in touch with you, Presley, you have created a record of a problem. And that institutional memory is going to start remembering the fact that this problem has come up. Oh, that came up in 2024. Well, now it's 2031 and it's all regulated. You are part of that happening, the tip of the spear, and it's important work. So brava.
Well, I think things can get done. I mean, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, created by Senator Warren, it took years to get it done, but she got it done. So it can get done if the right people continue to push for it, even in the face of pushback and opposition. It can get done. And it is in the interests of the social media platforms at the end of the day to get this done, because there are too many horrible things going on in a lot of these platforms, or as a result of things that are happening on those platforms.
So your livelihood really just, by definition, depends on consenting adults being able to do things. As we've mentioned before, there is a bit of a creep factor there. How do you stay safe?
So my tactic has always been never posting in real time. I never post from where I am. I always wait either hours or a day later. I never post where I am when I am. And then I also don't leave the house without a weapon, which may sound a little paranoid, but when you're a single female like me and you have a dog and you have to walk them 3 times a day and you have people who are obsessed with you forwardly online. But then I also have an impersonator stalker who just really wants to be me and has no boundaries or limits. I'm always very vigilant, very aware of my surroundings. And I just don't put myself in situations where I'm alone with strangers. I live in an apartment complex with, I want to say 5 or 6 of my friends. Like we all have units in the same complex.
So you feel safe?
I feel safe knowing that I can scream and somebody will most likely hear me. I have a girlfriend who lives directly above me, has the same unit as me, just above me. But my biggest concern has been, and this was right before the news story came out in October, I wanted to move because I'm very cautious about posting the car that I drive, where I live, my neighborhood, the color of my building. Like it's always a thought that they are following me, that they're going to find me. But my friends, they don't live that way. They're posting everything. If this person, which they watch my every move, every single day, what I do, they know who I'm associated with, and they're probably stalking those people, and they probably already know where I live. Every single time I leave the house, I have a taser or pepper spray in my pocket, and my hand is in my pocket. Every time I, go on a first date, it's always a thought in my head that this is either I accuse my little brother of being my impersonator because he's, that age, they're all little computer trolls and they like to do scams and stuff. And there was a point where I was convinced that my little brother was doing this. And that's not a good place to be. I hope to God he isn't. And I have evidence proving that it's not him. I thought it was one of my aunts It's the mental places that I've gone on this journey has been incredibly terrifying.
What message or advice do you give other people that are facing online impersonation like you've had to live through?
Just documenting it. The reason I've been able to connect all these dots and find somebody who I even as a lead to who could be responsible for this is because I have taken screenshots of every single interaction. I've been able to connect dots of words that they've said, stories that they've said, the kind of content they're using, how they're using it in order to kind of create a web and kind of be my own detective in it. Because ultimately, nobody's going to help you. But the way that AI and technology is advancing, these things are going to get serious and they're going to get even worse and they're going to get very scary. And unless we do something to prevent that from happening, it is going to happen. So yeah, just documenting it so you have your own back, and then being proactive and having conversations like this, because the more we talk about it, the more people will hear, the more likely things are to change, hopefully.
You're highlighting a lot of what we talk about here, which is when we go online, our ultimate guardian is ourselves. That we as much as we would like to hope that others would be there to protect us, they're just not there. Presley, we can't thank you enough for spending your time with us, sharing your story with us, and having the courage to do what you do in order to protect yourself.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Okay, now it is time for our tinfoil swan.
Our paranoid takeaway to keep you safe on and offline.
Did you guys get that meeting invite I sent out?
I'm not sure. They just automatically pop up in my calendar.
Ditto. It's a socially acceptable way for me to ignore communications.
You are so good at that.
I am. I pride myself on it. I'm always the last to know when I have something I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, Beau, your, let's call it laissez-faire approach to email and now calendars, per usual, is keeping you safe. Scammers are using calendars.
Of course they are, Travis. Of course they are.
How so?
Well, Google Calendar automatically accepts invitations sent via email from anyone.
So someone can send you a spam or malicious email with a calendar invite.
And since you can add links to calendar invites, you can redirect somebody to a cloned website or get them to click on a malware-infected link.
Oh, brother.
Right. Or you can just send someone a meeting invite saying, call with Bankrap, with an actual phone number and give away your information.
Come on, that's not going to work.
Like many other people, I rely strongly on my calendar to help keep things from slipping through the cracks. So if I see something on there, unless it looks extremely shady, I'm more likely to trust that than a text or an email.
Wait, have we just figured out Travis's security kryptonite?
I gonna say I don't think that you would fall for it, Travis. Does the same thing happen with Apple or Microsoft? I'm just curious.
No, it's auto-accepting invites is disabled by default on both of those.
Can you disable it in Google?
Yeah, just go to your Google Calendar and click the little gear icon in the upper right, then go to Settings. There's a section called Events from Gmail. Now uncheck the box that says Show Events Automatically Created by Gmail in my calendar. But you might not want to do it.
Well, it sounds like a bug and a feature.
It does open you up to scammers, but it's convenient. If, say, my wife schedules a dentist appointment for one of my kids and sends me a calendar invite, it's nice to have that automatically show up.
All right, but can't you just set it to favorites like in iOS, which lets certain people break through focus mode and stuff?
You can set it to accept incoming calendar invites from people that you've interacted with. But if you think about the sheer number of people you've gotten emails from, even if you get a email one day, just reply, not interested. Then that sender will still be able to add things to your calendar.
Oy vey.
And that's our tinfoil swan.
What the Hack with Adam Levin is a production of Loud Tree Media. You can find us online at adamlevin.com and on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Adam K. Levin.
Behind every great meal is a person with a story to tell. Hear them on Culinary Characters Unlocked, the podcast that reveals the lives behind the food. Hosted by me, David Page, Emmy Award-winning journalist and creator of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, as I talk with everyone from culinary legends to mom-and-pop standouts about the creativity, grit, and passion that shape the food we love. Follow Culinary Characters Unlocked on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Behind every empire are the people history tried to forget. Lost Roman Heroes tells the stories of the remarkable characters who shaped Rome from its mythical beginnings to its final fall.
Each episode blends armchair storytelling, sharp historical insight, and a bit of humor to bring these lost figures to life. From generals to scientists, from rebels to empresses, from priests to politicians, these lost Roman heroes have one thing in common.
They stood up for civilization when the bad guys threatened, and in doing so, they changed the course of human history. If you're into history that's vivid, surprising, and deeply human, this show's for you.